I'm JJWalsh, your host here in Hiroshima, Japan. And today I'm so happy to welcome another person in the travel industry, all the way from France, but overseeing EXO travel for all of Asia, including Japan. Alexandra Michat, is that right?
Yes, Misha.
Oh,
It's okay.
wonderful. Thank you so
It's,
much for joining.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
And we had a few technical issues getting on just now. But I've been reading all about EXO Japan, EXO travel, and
hmm
EXO Japan, and it sounds like you've had the Japan part of your travel organization for about 10 years now. Is that right?
Yes, that's absolutely right. We started EXO in Vietnam in 1993, and our founders were three friends basically that had just finished their studies together and decided to go on a backpacking trip in Asia, and then they saw this opportunity in Vietnam, and then they met local partners because all of our structures are basically one local partner and EXO shareholder, which are the three friends from the beginning, plus another one that joined in, and yes, and slowly they started building EXO in different destinations, and Japan was among well, not the latest one because the latest one are Singapore and Malaysia that we opened later on, but yes, for Japan it's been quite some time now.
Yeah, wonderful. I'll show the website here. So it's exotravel.com, and beautiful website. Lots of great tours and information, and it's wonderful to see a travel company which has as one of its core philosophies has sustainability, and I believe that's where your specialty is. Isn't that right, Alexandra?
Yes, exactly. Well, actually, I joined EXO in 2014 in Vietnam, starting as a sustainability coordinator because at the time they wanted to become a sustainably certified company, and what what they shared at the very beginning in a recruitment interview is that they felt like sustainability and responsible travel was really part of the DNA, what the founders wanted since the beginning, delivering authentic experience, supporting local communities. They had this really passionate view on sustainability and how can we do, what can we support, how can we protect nature, seeing the dramatic effect of overdevelopment in some destinations. So they really felt like I really felt they were passionate. They had things in place, but nothing very structured, and so that's why they decided to go for a certification to have this kind of framework and guidelines and having everything, in writing basically, and reporting and starting to nurture this culture of reporting on what we do and being more transparent and accountable. So that's yes, that's when it all started for me at EXO. My background is not from tourism. I used to work I'm a civil servant in France and also working for several NGOs, and I've been studying development rather than tourism. But really passionate about travel as well. So I decided to join EXO in Vietnam, and then yes, from there the journey began. Almost
Wow.
8 years ago now.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I really believe that tourism is one way that we can support our local community and the needs of people in rural areas and local communities, as well as the environment. And what we're seeing recently is that actually travelers especially after COVID, are thinking about that more and trying to do more responsible travel and looking for attractions and tours which do support local people, which do make less negative impacts on the environment. It seems like those are the kinds of things that are the values of your company too. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. And that's what we see as well. I mean, when I started in 2014, what we were going out and reaching out to our suppliers, trying to find out what they were doing towards sustainability, whether taking any actions that we could deem responsible. It was really hard to get any answers. And it was also hard to prove that there was a real demand for sustainability, and as you say, for travelers to be really conscientious about the way they travel and by choosing activities. It was, I would say, we were not led by demand. It was a bit the other way around, which is a bit unusual for a company that usually follows where the business is. Uh, but so this is really what we try to do at EXO, and what we've been trying to do since the beginning is to find the local partner in communities, among the networks of NGOs and civil society in each destination that we can cooperate with, and create travel experiences for travelers, so that while they travel, they can also give back to the communities and helping to address social and environmental challenges. And this is for really the product and the itinerary. So how to choose an experience that benefits to local people, how to ensure that, you know, when while traveling, you are reducing your carbon footprint and your impact on the environment. So all this part for us has been really at the core, developing itineraries and products that address this need to protect our destination and to help its development. But what we focused on a lot at the beginning was our internal management. So it took us a tremendous amount of time to work on internal processes and management of the company. So with regards to HR, to, you know, environmental management of the office, raising awareness among our team, sharing knowledge about sustainability. This was really a really long process. But starting to, what we would always say was, okay, we need to start cleaning at our door before, you know, really going further. We need to know internally what we can do and how we can change ourselves from being more responsible in every choices that we make as a company internally. And then slowly we started addressing our supply chain. So by first highlighting what we knew was always helping to do good, supporting communities, having, you know, experience that where we really bring travelers uh, into immersing themselves into the local culture and giving back at the same time. So we started with really promoting those experiences, and also launching some I would say flagship projects around the environment. So helping, working on travelers, but also our clients' engagement on reducing plastics, measuring carbon footprints. So this was very interesting, and we see that now there is a real shift. And as you said, travelers are really much more conscientious that travel has indeed an impact. So it can be a negative impact when it comes to the environment, but it can also be a very positive impact when it comes to the sustainable development of the destinations that they travel to.
Yeah, definitely. I love that story, the backstory that it really had to start with your staff. It had to start
Yeah.
with your office, and you had to work out how you understood it collectively. And then you go out and you start looking at your supply chain and the people doing your tours, and giving advice to your customers on the other side. And I think there's so few companies that are doing all of those angles at sustainability, but I think that's so important. And I read your bio on the website, EXO Japan, EXO travel website, and it said you are one of the people in the business who walks the walk as well as talks the talk. So what do you do in your life to try to be sustainable before we talk more about the company? Do you have any
Um,
good habits?
yes. Well, I've been, yes, always, has always been a bit in me trying to see what I can do. I mean, yes, just on my side to be more responsible, let's say. So just thinking when I need to buy something, do I really need it? How long would I use it? Trying to always go for the most durable option, and trying to find ways to reduce. Plastic is driving me crazy. When I was in Vietnam, and also back in France, I realized that it's so everywhere in the supermarkets, and I'm a big fan of cooking myself. So I always buy raw products, and try to buy, yes, as responsible as I can. I love farmers. I love to go out there, and yeah, again, this passion for travel, discovering, being curious. So that leads you to really trying to being more aware of what's going on around you, and how you can do your bit to be more responsible. So by, yes, trying to purchase more responsibly, trying to consider the impacts. That's what I always say to the staff. We maybe we don't necessarily always make the best choice, because sometimes it's the best choice is not so obvious, but we have to make choices by being aware of the impacts that they have, and then it's when we make the decision, it's when we fully assess the overall impacts that our decision will have.
Yeah, that is so true. And I think as a travel business, as any kind of business, you have to find a way to balance the appeal to the visitor. So, what are the big
Mm,
attractions that they want to see? But how
mm,
can we add more slow travel ideas? Or how can we add less impact around that area, as well as having the big hits that everybody wants to see?
mm,
I noticed, like on your website, Kyoto is one of your big bases. And I usually discourage people from going to Kyoto
yeah.
because it's so busy. There's so many people. Even during COVID, it was so busy. But that is one of the most famous places about Japan
Mm.
around the world. Mount Fuji, doing, seeing the geisha on the street. These are all the big hits. But I notice on your website that you are recommending more rural stays, longer stays, slower travel. So having that balance of the big popular ones, but also please try to stay a while, enjoy
Mm.
yourself, take it slow, right? That's a always must be a consideration, right?
Yes, exactly, and that is definitely true, and something that which we are actually still tackling. How do we play our part in promoting lesser known destination, in promoting alternative routes, in promoting in also communicating on when certain destinations are at the peak, and in terms of over tourism, and how do we play our part by sharing this communication to our clients and encouraging them to choose another destination or to travel there differently. So this is really something that we are always working on improving. It's not easy because, well, I would say it depends a lot also on the country of origins of travelers. When we have a traveler from certain areas of the world where they have very little vacation, so they want to hit the big spots because they know their time is they have a time constraint, and it's really hard for them. They travel once a year and they want to see basically 3 countries in 1 week. So that's very hard. to to be promoting slow travel to people that have this time constraint that is very strong. However, we know that on some other markets, people have more holidays, so it's easier to promote a bit out of the way, more remote areas, and trying to play our part in the diversification of tourism within a destination and ensuring that revenues from tourism are widespread and not only going to certain areas. So, yes, I would say there is this market challenge. And also not in Japan. It's not true for Japan, but in other areas, it's also the accessibility in terms of transport. You are lucky in Japan to have a wide and very well developed network of transport that allows maybe more easily this the possibilities of going in other areas, less crowded areas. It's true that in Indochina, sometimes it's really transport that is the bottleneck.
Wow, that is true. I can't even imagine how many things you guys have to consider for each destination, each tour. It's really complex, but I really appreciate that you guys are making the effort to consider, even if we're in this busy place, how can we make it a little bit more sustainable? How can we support the local economy a little more? And I think these are definitely ongoing conversations that
Mm.
we all need to be having in the travel industry, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think for us, the approach is that we really try to improve the measurements of what we do so that we can see how effective we are or not sometimes, uh, and trying so to include tools and processes in the tools that we are using already. For example, we have this software that we use for reservation, so we try to ensure that, for example, the carbon metrics is included in there. So we don't use another tool to so it's easier in the end to get some data collection, to report and to see, because we always say in the company we can only improve what is measured. How do you know what has been your impact, and if what you've implemented is successful if you cannot measure it. So we really have always in mind and at heart, I would say, that we really need to use the tools that we have in our daily job to make the reservation, bookings, operation, decisions and handling. How can we include components that will help us in the end to measure our action and to see whether we are being effective or not, and then adjust. So this is a Yes, this is very interesting because it leads also people to think about the tools that they are using and sustainability, and embed like sustainability into their daily job, which is quite challenging.
Yeah. And then that's also where your third party certification also informs you guys, and you have this outside assessment who is benchmarking you guys with other travel
Mm.
companies and other similar businesses, which really, that kind of advice must really help as well in your decision making as you keep going, right?
Exactly. That was yes. That really to me one of uh, the most significant benefit of being certified is that you get those auditors coming in, and they're completely fresh and new. They don't know you, but they have all this experience also of having audited other companies that they bring along, because they don't actually say names, but they can share about what they've seen in other companies, and they really help us to identify the bottlenecks. And also it's good sometimes, even if now I'm on my own. I used to have a team of sustainability coordinator, but with COVID, the situation has drastically changed for us. So now we are rebuilding, and so I don't have sustainability coordinators working in each destination as before. So it's really, but it has always been very impactful to have someone from the outside looking over at what we are doing and also sharing with the teams what they felt was a success in the company, to help him to really keep this momentum and excitement about sustainability, and also, yes, helping us to address the bottleneck, identify them, and then giving us ideas, leads, and on how we can work around them to
Yeah.
be
And
more.
then you're informing not only your operations, but you're also doing education and workshops and training along your supply chain, which is your tours and your agents that you collaborate with, right?
Yes, so the training, the focus has been a lot on tour guides. So, well, in Japan is not necessarily the case because we don't have so many tour guides. We have a self guide app where we include responsible tips for travelers and things, but it's not really the same as in the other destination. In the other destination, we put a lot of emphasis on training tour guides and working with hotels. So with hotels, as you can see on this really nice picture, I love this project. We've been collecting over the years best practice from hotels in the region based on self-assessment survey, but also on-site inspection, where we would have the sustainability coordinator going into the hotels and asking questions about sustainability, and yes, collecting data and information on site, taking pictures. So we work with this great network of hospitality schools to gather all the data, the best practice, into a guide that is shared with hospitality schools, but also with our supplier. And this is one of the example. We also organized training, so either directly in the hotels or sometimes also in a more central location where we would invite several hotels and have a specialist on energy efficiency, sharing information, best practice on what can be done on at each destination level. So it's really interesting because I think that's why hotels like to work with us maybe more than with the online platforms. They always tell me, well, on platforms, I input myself the information. Maybe my competitor may be inputting exactly the same, but you coming on site, being interested in what we do, wanting to see the kitchen, to see the waste management, to see the wastewater treatment. That's so rewarding to have you on site and us being able to show you, because we are very proud. We feel we want to share it. We don't necessarily know how, because sometimes it's not super sexy when you talk about food waste. But we've been engaging so much energy and manpower and the teams on this project that we're happy we can show it to someone, basically. So that's really rewarding on both sides, as for us to see that our supply chain is committed, and for them to show their efforts and having the opportunity to explain and be proud of what they've been implementing.
That's so interesting that you say it's not very sexy to talk about food waste. It depends. It depends who you talk to. If you talk to someone who has had food insecurity, it's very exciting to talk about food waste, right? If you talk to, like, sometimes I talk to people in the garbage and waste management division. If I talk to them about composting, they're really excited because they know the benefits, the
Uh,
cost benefits, right?
yes,
As
yes,
well as the environmental and the community benefits. Food waste is a huge issue in
yes.
Japan and in many parts of Asia.
Mm,
That's a really exciting solution to talk about, I think, and I hope hotels are really at the forefront of
mm.
tackling a lot of our food waste issues for sure. Now,
Yes, no,
yeah,
that's true. That's true. That's true.
yeah. I love that you shared with me your slides. Thank you so much for that. And I love how you have so many tangible, understandable actions as ways that you're trying to hit these five pillar targets. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Yes, of course. Yes, this is very important. And sometimes I say that flagship projects are a bit the tree that hides the forest. I don't know if it's very correct in English, but it's the same in French. It's by those actions that are very tangible and understandable that we communicate and we engage clients and we engage suppliers. But well, I think as you can see from what I've been sharing so far, a lot of the things are happening backstage. So I like showing simple and concrete examples. I often refer to the wet towel situation. We were before it was a norm, a standard. When I joined EXO, everybody was telling me, it's a standard. We give a plastic wrap towel, wet towel in the car every day for each traveler, along with two bottles of plastic bottles of water. And when we did the math, and trying to calculate how many it will represent, it was huge. Where we were close to 150,000 travelers per year, so it was huge when you multiply by the number of days, etc. So we realized, okay, it's not like you cannot wash your hands in the hotels where we bring our clients to. It's not like they won't stop at a restaurant. It's not like local people are actually cleaning their hands and their face and washing off. Everywhere there is water available, and you can basically stop or. And so, well, we said, don't you think it's a bit unnecessary to give this? No, but yes, agree with you. It's unnecessary, but it's a standard. It's the norm. It's what we've been doing for years. So if we discontinue, our clients, they will be so angry. They will complain. They will not understand. They will. It was not about they will struggle because their hands will be dirty, or it was no, they will not take it because they will not understand why we remove this standard. Well, actually, so we did it. We pushed for it. We did it, and then we realized that actually the staff was very afraid to do it, but our clients were super happy to welcome the idea and was like, yeah, totally unnecessary, and then, it became something where we realized, wow, the impact is huge. It's such a tiny thing, but the impact is huge. And we had all this, mental constraint where we were stopping ourselves from doing something because we felt we were we were imagining what people would think about, and but actually it was not true. So yes, that's interesting to see how sometimes just a very small tiny action can lead to a lot of internal concern, a lot of and then when you
Absolutely.
take this step.
And I agree with you 1000% that these plastic covered wet towels are a nightmare. And I always point it out when I do consulting in Japan with tourist destinations, with businesses, because the places that use the traditional Japanese oshibori, which is the reusable
Yeah,
towel, that until 5 years ago everybody was using, now hardly anybody uses, that is so much of a higher value experience for the
exactly.
customer to be able to wash their hands with that. And so it just looks like a higher quality experience, and it reduces all this unnecessary plastic waste, right? Like you were talking about. So I was really happy to see that you guys targeted that. That's real. In Asia, that's a really big problem. In Japan, this is everywhere too, right?
Yes, yes. But it's true that for some experiences, we did replace it with the reusable ones.
Good, good. We had a comment here from Allison on Facebook. Thanks for joining,
Mhm.
Allison. She says, "Do you buy carbon offsets for all of the travel?" give links to show people how to cover their plane travel. How do you do the carbon offsets? I noticed that's a common question you have, right?
Yes, yes. So, well, basically, we offset for our own, I would say, company related carbon footprint. So the staff flights, our energy consumption, everything that we can measure for linked to our own, what we own, and then so we did that in the beginning, and then we started looking at the footprint of our travelers, which is more significant, of course, than our own footprint, which is very small because we're a service company. So we started looking at flights as a starting point, because we do book regional and domestic flights for travelers. So we started looking at flights, and what we do is that we use an online calculator based on the routing of the flights. It gives us a carbon metric, so it's called carboncalculator.com online. And we included this carbon metric into our reservation system. So whenever we book a flight, automatically it increments the carbon metric, and therefore it is converted into a cost. So then we use this amount to purchase carbon credits from projects that we like in Asia. So we've been supporting Improve Cook Stoves project. We've been supporting water fountains. We've been supporting reforestation. So different types of projects. We usually have our staff, a poll for our staff. They vote for the project they want for the year. And then we started looking at the trip. So the ground transport. So the metric is based on the number of kilometers they travel and the type of vehicle that is being used, the number of people in the car. We looked at the boat as well. And for hotels, we were not able to measure exactly. So we worked with a third party that provided us data on our 200 top hotels that we sell the most. They provided the carbon footprint per guest per night. And we added up all this information, came up with an average carbon footprint per traveler per day. So we know the information is lacking, but that was the starting point. And then the idea for us was to say, let's engage our clients and have them paying for the offsets, because we don't, so we are a B2B company, so we don't sell travel to the end travelers. We work only for travel agencies and tour operator. So we offer them as like an opt-in scheme at the beginning, like you should offset, for while travelers set foot in Asia for their carbon footprint, and we will purchase carbon credits to support projects in Asia. And so this was launched just before COVID. So then we basically stopped operating for 2 years. Now the idea is that we changed it to an opt-out. So it is automatically implemented unless our clients ask us to remove it, and we ask them why. And usually the answer is that because they have their own, scheme of setting programs that they commit to. So don't want to double their effort, which I understand. But the idea for us is really to see it as leverage, as a financial means that we can use towards investing in renewable energies, investing, for example, we have this project in Thailand. We use a lot of boats to make city tours in Bangkok. So the idea would be to invest in solar powered engine, so that we can significantly reduce the carbon footprint of travelers, and it's like one of our best seller experience. So the idea is to find ways where we can invest and while reducing the carbon footprint of travelers and investing in green, more clean, and also in the preservation of natural areas. We've been doing that in the past as well, and we feel it's really important to do so and to have this sacred land where the idea is not to bring tourists to, but is really to help to purchase lands that is completely protected, untouched, while we do support conservation projects and have visits to facilities that are doing wildlife conservation. We also feel it's really important to support areas that remain completely untouched for biodiversity to thrive again in our destination.
You're doing so many interesting projects to not only about the environment, but to really have that balance of having a good, successful business. So you have your profits, you're taking care of local people, you're also taking care of your own staff. Um, and thinking
Yes.
of the environment, and not only from the destination locals, but also how your customers can also help offset carbon and do other things which benefit the planet. But there is a real where was that you there is sorry, I'm lost my slide here, but there's a real balance between the social and the environment side,
Yes.
which is quite rare to see that real PPP, people, planet, profit, and balance kind of mindset, and really that balance between community and environment.
Mm.
So it's something I talk about all the time. So I was so excited to see that you guys have that as well.
Yes, and so we've been having this foundation, so EXO Foundation, for over 10 years now. The idea of the foundation was really to use it as a tool to leverage funds for grassroots organizations that are active in all our destinations. So we give back part of our profit. So don't ask clients to join. I mean, I would say for the carbon offsetting, the idea is that we offset for what we own, our office, etc. And then we try to engage our clients to offset with us, so to get there, also have them part of the efforts into investing in renewable energies and nature preservation. But for the community, so what we do is that we give $1 from our profit for per traveler to the foundation. And then the idea is that in each destination we have this network of organizations that we work with. So either we support them financially for their projects, or we try to see if there is any interest in integrating them into EXO product. So for example, including a visit to a conservation organization, and while at the same time supporting them with the foundation with, for example, sponsoring of the orangutan, or care for elephants, or things that where we have the twofold approach where we financially support them through the foundation and the financial tool that we have to support them in the long term, while trying to help them to bring more revenues and have the additional income from tourism to that support that in the end will support their activity as well. So yes, EXO Foundation, we try to have this right balance, as you say, between projects that will support the environment. We invested a lot in circular economy of plastic, especially because we felt like it was a huge, massive issue in our destination. So we really wanted to do something. So we've been investing in very successful projects in circular economy, which has been a great experience for our team. And what's interesting is that in this case, for example, we manage also to engage some of our clients. So then the financial leverage was way more important than if we were doing it alone. So, for example, we invested in this project where we shred the unrecyclable, because I know in Japan you are sorting a lot of different type of waste, especially plastics. But in Vietnam, in Myanmar, and in Laos, they recycle mainly PET, and the rest goes to landfill. So the idea is to really shred yes, into small pieces of plastic, or the low value plastic that's not recyclable, and transform it into furniture. So now they have this project that we started investing with. I remember it was $5,000. They built this container in Da Nang and started the process. And now they have 6 operating factories, which are really huge. And I've been transforming 250 million tons of plastic waste already since 2020, so in 2 years. So that's wouldn't have been possible without our clients bringing in a very significant donation. It happened in several projects, so we try to launch it and have the seed, yes, to plant the seed, and then have our also engage our clients so that we can grow projects a bit more bigger and get more impact.
Yeah, I was really impressed by that. So you bring clients in and they can do CSR, so corporate social responsibility, which is good for their brand, but it's also great for your company's brand too. And you can help local communities, you can help the environment. It sounds like great projects. Wonderful.
Well, actually, yes, that was a request that the CSR, so the CSR project are a bit difficult to manage. So there is always this request coming in from clients. They organize these big incentive meetings, and they would like their team to be engaged, like hands-on, an activity, and helping either, yes, a park, a national park, or helping a community, and really want to build something. So we are always working on eggs and trying to find the right partner so that their action will have a positive impact, and will be based on a need assessment. We don't want them to come in and decide that this school needs painting, so they would just come in and paint the school if there is not a need assessment that shows that the actual need of the community is to paint the school, which is usually not what is most needed in areas. Also, when they are building something, for example, if they are building a facility, the idea is that we have the partner that will be there in the long term uh, to develop a project around the facility. So that's very hard because people come in with their own ideas, and our job is to tell them, well, your ideas are great. It's wonderful that you want to help. There are tons of things that we can imagine together, but the needs for this community in these specific areas are as follow. So if you want to have a powerful impact, the idea is that we find the right partner that will be there in the long term, that can help you, like ensuring that the project will be sustainable, and that we maximize the positive impact. So that's a difficult conversation to have sometimes, but when
That's
it's done successfully,
so important. Yeah.
yeah.
We've seen how very good intentioned people have done disastrous things around the world throughout history, because that wasn't actually what the locals needed or wanted. Right? It's coming in from an outside perspective. That's really
Yes.
amazing and very hard work, I imagine. But hopefully also very rewarding. Some of the projects
Yeah.
just sound so interesting. Some of the other projects I was really interested in, getting communities to kind of manage their own tourism and get local people to tell stories. And this really reminded me of what we see a lot in Hiroshima, is survivors telling their
Mm.
stories, but also people who are doing crafts telling their stories. Or even we have Kagura performance, and Kagura can only be told audibly. Nobody writes it down. So I'm
Mm,
sure all over Asia there are wonderful stories which need to be told to be preserved. And what a wonderful asset to have as a travel company, to have all these wonderful community stories. I love that idea.
mm. Yes, 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 indeed. It's really on the ground work, so we cannot do it alone. For this type of project, we really we are accompanied and we support organizations that are on the ground because it takes a tremendous amount of time working with people, helping them to share their stories, also feeling confident to share their stories with others, other cultures. So, things that they want to highlight, what they want to share exactly. So, yes, we really like this type of project, and we are always very eager to support whenever our partners, or we receive information about a project that is being set up. It's true that yes, this type of project we would like to be more proactive into enabling them, but it's such a yes. Fine work on the ground, and it's
Yeah.
definitely challenging but super
Well,
rewarding.
you need to find that key person who is
Exactly.
so passionate about the project and keeping it going, right? And that
Exactly.
probably fluctuates over time with your different contexts as well. Looks like you've also done tree planting projects. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we had different types of tree planting projects. So tree planting, I would say, for the staff, they, when we do team building activities and so on. So this is a young lady that I really like in our Vietnamese team, English Inbound. So the idea is that whenever they do an activity during the year, we try to find activities that are nice for them. So, for example, this one in Vietnam, where they planted trees in a biosphere reserve with an organization that is protecting the area. So they planted, I think, around 500 trees at this in this specific picture at this event. And the idea is that they call it the EXO community forest in Vietnam. And so it's they send us video of the area and how it thrives, and the wildlife that they can spot. And so it's a very long. It was the idea at the beginning was that our staff would go there, plant trees, and then for 4 years we would have a commitment and financial support to the organization so that they would care for the area, watch, monitor the tree growings, etc. So this is the type of project that we like to do in our destination for the staff. There is also the HR initiative where we plant one tree for each baby. We have 70% of women in the company, so a lot of maternity leaves and women having babies. So we felt, it's like a nice gesture when you give birth, to have a tree planted, like a
I
small
love that.
tradition.
And it's something you can track over time, and
Yes,
it's something tangible, right? It's not like carbon offset. You don't really see it, you don't touch it. But planting a tree, that's something I can do, and then I can see it grow, and right, it's very nice.
exactly. And then we have, alongside with the initiative I shared earlier in terms of carbon offsetting for our clients, and we also supported so reforestation project in the mangrove in Indonesia, where we planted the 20,000 trees um, in 2019. So the idea is really to compensate for the carbon emission with the amount of carbon offsets, and additionally to plant a certain number of trees per. I think it was the idea was it was for per 20 kilo 20 no per 1 ton of CO2 7 trees, something like that. We had the partner helping us to figure this out, because they said planting a tree per se is not enough to offset for carbon emissions because the time it grows, and there are many factors to take into consideration. So the idea was to say, okay, we will offset, and additionally we'll plant trees. So then also in terms of communication for travelers, you can tell them that you've been planting X trees and in the mangrove, and it's a kind of more tangible than X kilo of CO2, which is a bit
Yeah.
unsexy again.
That's right. I would love to also see projects taking care of and creating new seaweed and kelp
Ah,
farm, because those are such big
yeah,
carbon capture. And then actually in Japan we have 90% of one kind of tree, the monoculture. So we
yeah,
actually need funding to
yeah,
thin the forest and use the
exactly.
local wood, right? So it's not always as it's a little counterintuitive, right?
Yes,
Um
and I'm pleased to say that we have now in our teams Richard Pierce that is leading a sustainable
Oh,
Dyson.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yes,
Fantastic. He's
so that's
helping to
definitely
save the giant salamanders in Totori with his project. That's great.
exactly, and so that's the idea also that we are working on is to plant endemic species to yes to mitigate well, the monoculture and what has been done in the past.
Yeah, that's so important. You have so many other interesting projects. I found this one really interesting as well. So this goes back to what we were talking about before, finding out what the locals need, what the locals want. Education is always a key issue in different parts of Asia, especially for girls and women, right?
Yes, yes, definitely. This project is very it's very iconic for me because we start from a situation where those women, so long neck women, well, they were seen as like an attraction, and the idea uh, maybe 10 years back from the tourism industry was to say, okay, well, we don't send clients to this human zoo anymore because people were coming in and were being disrespectful of their culture and not really understanding why they were doing it. So they were just basically, yes, treating them like they were in a zoo. So we decided to work well, but the communities still wanted to welcome other cultures, to welcome travelers, and they wanted to develop activities that were more aligned with what they wanted to show. So we worked with a great organization. It's called Fair Trade Tourism, and they are the woman leading the organization is really passionate about this area in Thailand, Waipukeng, and she's been there. She's been organizing workshops, trying to work with the community to find out exactly the type of activities that they want to organize for travelers, and they've been like preparing everything together, so ensuring that all the activities offered will really reflect what local people want to show to travelers, and now they are promoting this tour. We have also in our product range, but uh, I really like that we turned a terrible situation into a situation where we really have this community engagement from the start and trying to figure out with the community how they want tourism to impact their life and the destination they live in. And I think this is a very successful turn and a way, and especially considering that this community wanted tourism to be part of their life, to help them get additional income, so to increase in the end to increase their living standards. So that's yeah, it's a project that I'd like to see more developed in the same with the same spirit.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And to have that community created asset, and the community is more welcoming and happy to have travelers visit when they have that sense of creation of something that they take pride in, right? That's so wonderful. I love that.
Yes, because we see sometimes, in a certain area, many of homestays developing, and we're like, oh wow, many homestays, people opening their home, but it's a bit soulless. There is not this really this spirit of, it's not from the start, it's not from the community level that really said, okay, let's have a project together and see how we want travelers to know and engage with our destination. But having individuals opening homestay does not have in the end the same impact as when it's really led by the group.
Yeah, for sure. And
Mm-hmm.
it's always that, I think with tourism, there's always that risk. Is it exploitation of
And,
culture, or is it engagement that benefits the local community, right? There's, you always have to find that balance. And it's ongoing. It's not like, okay, we fixed it, finished. It's like every year you have to reassess, right?
exactly. Yes, it's yes, it's a really ongoing process.
Now, one of the actions that you mentioned, which we've had the chance, I've had the chance to interview Maimizu,
Ah,
which
yes.
is a Japan started app, and I believe they're in other countries now as well. But having this idea that you're passing on through hotels and your tour guides to encourage refilling of water or filtered water, this is so simple but so important.
Yes, yes, yes. It all started from this, this the wrap a plastic towel and 2 bottles per day in the car. What can we do? I mean, we completely manage this process. So what can we do? And we started, yes, we started engaging our clients and offering the idea of, we can purchase for you reusable bottles. So upon arrival, we give a reusable bottle to your travelers, and we explain, and our tour guides, they are trained and they can lead the way, and they can explain that every morning in the hotel they will find water available, and before leaving they can fill up their water, and then in the car you can place the water in a cooler, and along the day they can drink. Then there is this lunch break where most of the time also they would stop at a restaurant, so having restaurants engage also and offering the possibility for travelers to refill. And then and so we started offering this. It's definitely challenging, because especially, so we started setting up also for groups, setting up a big water container in the buses and in the cars so that they can refill more easily, especially more remote areas or where there is no water station around. So it's, yes, it has been very challenging in terms of operation. And I really like the idea for individual travelers because it's so easy. But when you have a group of 20, 30 people, queuing to refill leads to a lot of, logistical challenge. So we are, yes, we are trying to see how we can improve the process. But to be honest, it's really something where we feel like it's our responsibility because we do provide water, and we want our guests to be able to drink, especially in such hot weather. However, it's, yes, in terms of logistic and operation, it's really, really challenging. So we like organizations like Maimizu, like Refill My Bottle, because they offer a practical solution. We have our tour guides trained, to use the app, locate the station, being able to bring guests. So it works again super, super well for individual travelers. About for groups, so we had this solution of having the big tanks of water, but we realized there is a lot of water waste because then they don't drink the full fountain. So like, how can we ensure that the water is reused, wisely? And it leads to a lot of issues. So we are still trying to come up with solution. In some destination, we use returnable glass bottles when they are available for short transfer. For example, it's perfect for the airport. So we keep the bottle in the car basically, and but yes, it again looks like a tiny little thing, but it's not so easy. And we also want to consider the fact that people are traveling, so basically the idea is that they can take the time and also stopping at a cafe, having a local drink, seeing people having their drink as well, and watching the community as well as supporting this local cafe by purchasing your drink is also ultimately what we want to promote. I mean, the idea of travelers is that they discover the country. So taking a break and stopping when you are thirsty should be something that comes quite naturally instead of staying in the car and drinking from a plastic water bottle. So this is really the direction that we want to, push towards, and we feel it's a lot of travelers engagement. Also when you come to a country, I mean, everybody has reusable bottles now, so we kind of feel the situation has a bit shifted, and we want to be more working towards travel engagement, so that they know in the packing list that when they travel to another destination, they have their bottle, that water at a water fountain is as safe in Vietnam as in France. I mean, it's all being inspected with and certified, and so that they feel confident that they can they can drink from water stations, and that they play also their part into in reducing the incredibly huge amount of plastic waste.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it seems like just a little bit, but it takes such a big effort because the infrastructure is fighting against us, right? To
Exactly.
make these changes. So if you are successful in even getting your customers to carry around a reusable bottle, or to use a glass bottle in some places, use a local cafe in other places, that's a huge step forward in the right direction. So
Yes,
that's
and we realize there is no one fit all solution. It's too complex. So the idea is that yes, we work at the pace of each destination, and we work a bit differently. But our tour guides being really our ambassador on this, and having them involved really makes a difference. Tour guides and drivers when they are, so that they are they are the link between local communities, what's happening locally, and travelers. So yes, it's also we talk a lot about that in the tour guide training, so that they really feel it's also their responsibility to help travelers along, and in the end reduce the amounts of plastic waste.
and the traveler also feels like they have a higher quality experience
Mm.
because we know the travelers are thinking about this too, and they feel guilty if they're using a lot of plastic bottles as well. So it helps everybody.
Mm.
That is our time. It went so
Yeah.
quickly. Alexandra, I could talk to you for hours. I feel like you have such a wonderful depth of knowledge about all these issues. And it's like you said many times, each area, each situation, it is really case by case, and it takes local approaches to really make it work. But
Mm.
I am so encouraged to know that there are organizations like yours who are doing that, who are not having like a one, this is the way, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. But you're really looking at it, getting local advice, and then moving forward in reassessing. And I think that's so key to having a sustainable business for sure.
Mm. Yeah, thank
It's,
you very much. It was also a
yeah.
pleasure talking to you.
Oh,
Yes, I can go
wonderful.
on and on for hours. So yes.
Well, I want to have you on again. Definitely. I think we can definitely have another hour in there for sure. But thank you so much for all the
Thank
good
you.
work that you're doing. Not only practically with action, but also just having the conversation and raising awareness. What you're doing, even within your organization, is so valuable. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for joining, and join us again next time. Thank you so much. Have a great night.